This is Parys and Sergeant Slovic. Sergeant Slovic's dog, Parys, is a very heroic dog. In 2007, he got injured while Sergeant Slovic was chasing after a criminal in a high-speed car chase. Sergeant Slovic remembers that day well and says there was a bad guy that was doing some bad stuff and trying to kill some people and had a shootout with the police. Several of us got into a pursuit with him, including Sergeant Hollenbach. We were going down Fox Farm Road, and the bad guy made us chase him. He was swerving at people in traffic. I made the decision to take him out, and I rammed him with my patrol car. We got into a bad accident and wrapped around a pole, and Parys's leg was injured. Parys was retired from patrol work after that. We caught the guy, Sergeant Slovic says loudly. He explained that Parys continued with drug detection up until 2011. He was old for a German Shepherd, too, especially for a patrol dog, Sergeant Slovic says with a tear in his eye. He passed away shortly after he retired. He was a great dog. Parys originally came from Poland and was a dual-purpose dog. He also did tracking, and he was great at tracking, Sergeant Slovic says. In 2010, he got his first place in the region. I worked with him from 2005 to 2011. Parys did a lot of amazing work for the Sheriff's Department in his time. He did lots of drug busts, and he captured a lot of criminals. He brought in a lot of drugs and a lot of drug money, Sergeant Slovic says. I was assigned to the DEA Drug Task Force here. That's when he finally retired. Parys did a bunch of drug seizures for the DEA. The skill that Parys was best at was tracking. Parys did a bunch of tracking. He was like a vacuum cleaner, never lifting his head up. Like I said, he was old and injured, but he still took first place in his last tracking trials in 2010. Unfortunately, the Sheriff's Department wouldn't give Sergeant Slovic a new dog after he was promoted to the canine supervisor position. Now Sergeant Slovic is a training sergeant for the department. He had this to say: "The odds are that we won't get another dog until Ozzy retires. As our decoy, Deputy Wright may get a chance at a dog when one becomes available. The dogs are expensive. They cost depends on whether the dog is a single-purpose or dual-purpose dog, whether it is titled dog or a green dog. It also depends on how long the trainer has trained." Sergeant Slovic also had this to say: "If the guy or gal has worked with a dog, they won't need as much training as someone who hasn't worked with a handler before. It's a big investment for a department. We don't have a limit about how many dogs we can have, though." The canine unit is such an amazing tool, he adds. A lot of people who don't use them won't understand. It's like having a deputy with you all the time that has an entirely different skill set that's above and beyond what any of us can do in terms of their noses. Whether they're a drug dog, a bomb dog, or a cadaver dog, do the tracking or just apprehensive work, that's big, he adds. You pull up on a hostile scene where you're making a traffic stop, and it gets into people's minds when they hear the dog barking, too. It's a big psychological factor that you have a dog on your side. I can't say enough about it. I love working with dogs. I'd rather do nothing else than work with the dogs for the rest of my career. I'm just fortunate that they've allowed me to be the coordinator for the unit. As a former coordinator for the canine unit at the Laramie County Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Slovic made sure all the guys were doing their training. Deputy Wright and Sergeant Slovic would set up all the training sessions and locations for the canine unit. Sergeant Slovic also was in charge of day-to-day stuff, like record keeping for all the dogs. Obviously, if any deployment is documented, they go through the courts, appeals, or federal court, Sergeant Slovic says. All of that training and documentation goes with it. If a deputy and his dog are in federal court, he has to enter proof that the dog is capable of doing what the dog is certified to do. Sergeant Slovic used to come to all of the trainings when he was in charge of them. I kept an eye on them because I love the dogs, Slovic says. I'm a dog guy through and through. Here's another picture of Parys. And Parys had passed away before I wrote the book, so those pictures of Sergeant Slovic and Parys were taken by the department. Meet the canine unit decoy, Deputy Wright. This is Deputy Wright. Today, Ollie and Deputy Wright, who is wearing protective bike gear, are training in a sunny soccer field. Lyra is also training in the same field with Deputy Wright and her handler, Deputy Murray. Lyra jumps up at Deputy Murray, touching him on the shoulders and almost knocking him down. Ollie and Lyra are fast, and they can reach a bad person in just a moment's time. Ollie is trained to take a bad person down to the ground in one attack. Today, Deputy Wright is helping Ollie continue his apprehension training. Deputy Wright is on the biting end of the attacks. The dog doesn't just bite, Deputy Wright says. He can use other tools to apprehend a suspect. Deputy Wright has been scratched during training because Ollie and some of the other dogs in the unit have wrapped their legs around him and pulled him close. Deputy Wright isn't Ollie's handler, but he has an important job as a decoy officer for the canine unit. It takes a special person to want to be bitten by a dog, Deputy Wright says. The dog can be pretty mean when it looks in on a suspect or the decoy. Deputy Wright pointed to the deep bite and scratch marks in his bite sleeve that Ollie and the other dogs in the unit have made. The decoy wears a protective bite suit that covers his body. There are also bite sleeves that protect his arms. Then there's other bite gear that protects his hands and knees. The suits protect his ribs, back, and upper shoulders because that's where the dog is trained to bite a bad guy. The bite suit protects me for the most part, he says, but I still get bruises and scratches from the bite. A bite helmet protects his head. Deputy Wright doesn't like the helmet very much because it's constricting and tight, but he says it protects him, which is a good thing. So again, there's Deputy Wright, and now he's no longer a decoy officer in the unit. He actually has his own dog. This is Ali, and there's another picture of Ali. If the dog gets tired, it will use its front paws to pull in a suspect, Deputy Wright says. Deputy Wright likes getting the chance to work with the dogs. It's not something that an everyday deputy can do. He says, I volunteered for it and got my training at the Sheriff's Department for it. Deputy Wright says he does get scared of the dogs on the unit when they are biting, but you do it over and over, you're overcoming that fear and the less scary it gets. You have to catch the dogs when they bite, and decoy must be certified. He also records and writes notes for the canine handlers during the trainings. The decoy bonds with the dogs, Deputy Wright says. The dogs are also deputy sheriffs, he adds. There was a statute that went into effect 5 years ago. If someone injures a police dog or a horse, it's a crime. The dogs even have a commission card, and they're commissioned deputy sheriffs. It's a Wyoming state statute 65211. Someday, Deputy Wright hopes to have his own dog to train that can be his full-time partner and help him catch criminals. And like I said, he does have his own dog now, which is pretty cool. Thanks for your time, and I appreciate reading with you guys today.